transitions.
The energy transition is happening. Now is the time to change. Time to move from polluting to preserving, consuming to creating. Time to act on your energy. To understand it, save it, even sell it. Because today's decisions will transform tomorrow. Pinergy, powering energy transition.
To all the fans out there, we know how much you care. To everyone who believes this could be their year,
so much. And then the quality of rugby that's been played.
we're always here. Wherever your team or heroes roam, there's one place we can all call home. The Irish Examiner, where sport lives.
Good afternoon and welcome to Virgin Media Park for this Pinergy Munster School Senior Cup semi-final. Last year's beatens finalists CBC faced off against last year's beaten semi-finalists Crescent College Comprehensive. We'll have full live coverage in association with the Irish Examiner. Kick-off here is at 1:30pm. Full live commentary from Donal Lenihan, Johnny Holland and myself, Dara Frawley. And a little earlier on I spoke to head coach of CBC Tommy Crowe and Lee Nicholas of Crescent College Comprehensive. Tommy Crowe, 3 weeks ago, a 15 points to 5 win over St Munchin's. The intervening period can often be difficult to get up to speed. How have preparations been ahead of a massive game against Comp?
Yeah, look, in preparation for a semi-final, you've kind of got a month there. I think we've managed ourselves well. We got a couple of training hits there against various clubs. So I think we're ready, you know. I suppose we've done a little bit more than we did last year, and we were kind of a little bit off the pace at the start of the semi-final last year. So I think we're ready to go, yeah. I think we've used our time well.
In terms of the elements today, you've got a very big and strong pack. Is that going to be a big emphasis of your game plan?
Well, look, I think we're a well-balanced side, so we hope that we'll get a bit of return out of the set piece, and also we've got good, exciting backs, so I think we'll mix it a little bit.
Good luck today, Tommy.
Thank you very much indeed.
Lee Nicholas, we're into knockout rugby. 15-5 here about 3.5 weeks ago against PBC, 32-22 against Rockwell. How has preparation been ahead of a big game against Christians?
Yeah, like you said there, 14-3 I think it was against PBC a couple of weeks ago, but we had chances that day. But the lads have come on a huge amount since then. Going into the Rockwell game, we always knew Rockwell were going to be a good physical side shooting off the line. They proved to be that in the day, but fortunately our lads got over the line in the end. Just scraping by there, to be fair, getting the try in the last play, but like that, we've had 2 weeks since that game. We've done a lot of work over midterm, so yeah, we're happy enough with the workload we've done.
The elements, as we can see here today, are going to play a big factor. Is there going to be much alteration game plan wise, or just play it as you see it?
Yeah, I think it was actually meant to be drive for the game, but the rain was pushed back a few hours just for this. No, look, similar to that day, it'll be a big collision up front between ourselves and Christians. Both very big packs, very talented forwards in there as well. So between that and the kicking game, I don't think you're going to see much unless the weather dries up today.
There'll be plenty of entertainment anyways. Best of luck today, Lee.
Cheers, thank you very much.
Good afternoon and welcome to Virgin Media Park for this Pinergy Munster School Senior Cup semi-final. Dara Frawley alongside Mr. Donal Lenihan and Johnny Holland for this afternoon's coverage. Gentlemen, you're both very welcome. Donal, Schools Cup rugby, it's knockout. The atmosphere is building here.
Yeah, it is. Just arrived about a half an hour ago. You could hear the singing already from almost down in Turner's Cross, so it's great to see. I have to say I love coming to these games. I have no preconceived notions. I don't know anything about the players, which is great because you form your own opinions, and so really looking forward to it.
Johnny Holland, lesser known secret, Crease 3 boy, but straight into the Pinergy Munster School Senior Cup semi-final. You know, these are special days, but there is a real sense of occasion here this afternoon.
A sense of occasion, and I think there's a sense of expectation as well, maybe around the Christians team having gotten to a final last year and being disappointed. They've obviously beaten Crescent a few times, a late draw here last year, but they've gotten one over them on them a couple of times since that, so a bit of expectation room, but there's a great atmosphere like Donal has said as well, so I think it's definitely going to be an occasion.
Donald, we heard in the pre-match comments from both coaches, Christians won the semi-final qualifier. Having 3 weeks or so off without a competitive game, do you see that as time to build or maybe a little bit of a misadvantage?
It depends on how you approach training. I mean, I was doing URC games over the weekend, and Ulster were like a crowd who met at the car park, not having had a game for 4 weeks, whereas Munster had that friendly against the Crusaders, and they sort of shot out of the blocks in their games against the Scarlets. But I think the schools, they're used to having sort of breaks between their games. But I think in some ways Christians probably needed it, given some injuries they've had.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how you adapt. But it's a big day for the young fellas. That's what you got to remember. Their whole school year, and for a lot of them, especially the guys in 6th year at school, they've been gearing up to days like this since they came into secondary school. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see a bit of nervousness, a few spilt balls or whatever. But you've got to acknowledge for the young fellas and their families, it's a great occasion.
Before we see the teams, Johnny, to the opposite point, Crescent College Comprehensive beaten in a semi-final qualifier by PBC 3 weeks ago, beat Rockwell 32-22. It's just about getting that momentum right, but they seem to be well pitched into the game.
Yeah, I think we always speak about that. Like, whoever wins the game, we'll be talking about the advantage they had before the game, whether it's a break or more games. But I do think at this level, you want them playing games. They need to be familiar. They need to get to know the connections that they have. I know they're training all the time, but you can't beat games, and that's where players really develop. So you'd like to see more games, but obviously if you're Christians, you come in as the favourites because you've gone straight through, and they'll take a lot of confidence from that. Obviously Crescent have had a chance to get their confidence back in a high-scoring game against Rockwell, so it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top.
Indeed it will. The Pinergy Munster Schools Senior Cup semi-final here in Virgin Media Park kicking off in a few moments' time. The CBC team, last year's beaten finalists, line out as follows: Ronan O'Keefe, Alex O'Connell and Bill McCarthy in the back three, Leo O'Leary and Gavin O'Riordan, the centre partnership, Charlie O'Shea, the orchestrator, who was last year's out half, partners with Christopher Barrett at 9, played on last year's wing but at scrum half this season. Danny Rock, Joseph Barrett and Conor Galvin fill the back row for CBC. Mark Skelly and the formidable Michael Foy in the engine room for the Cork side. Cian Walsh, Dara Prenter and Dennis Callaghan the front row for CBC. The replacements from Craig Hughes, Ronan O'Callaghan, Sean McDonald, Robert O'Sullivan, Jacob Lane, Ian Morton, Cian Boylan, Cian Corkery, Aidan Barry and Dara O'Callaghan. Johnny Holland, there are plenty of names there. Who should we look for on the field today?
Yeah, I think when you're looking at what's going to win the game, especially with the conditions around the place, you've got a small bit of a wind, wet conditions at times, so a big pack is probably going to put a marker down on this. And you look at the engine room of Michael Foy, Mark Skelly. Michael Foy is such a big player for this team, so it's great to have him back. He was out with a knee injury for a while. They've got a big front row there as well. But then you look at the half-back pairing, Chris Barrett, like you said, coming in from the wing. By all accounts, a very lively scrum half. And Charlie O'Shea, I've seen a bit of Charlie, very good kicker, good at controlling the game. So you'd expect him to pull the strings. Gavin O'Riordan giving them a bit of go forward in the middle of the pitch as well. So I think they have a lot of strengths to their bow, a lot of strengths around the pitch.
Indeed, of course, we left the second rows to Johnny Holland to explain. The Crescent College comprehensive team line out as follows: the electric Fionn Rossum at 15, Ryan Scanlon and Samuel Jordan complete the back three, Michael O'Mara and Ben Gallagher the centre partnership, Andrew Cleary and Evan Cusack the halfbacks, Cormac Quinn, brother of a certain Ruan, is at 8, Tom O'Brien at 7 and Irish Schools Charlie Fenton at 6, Conor Ryan and Oren Copley the second row partnership this afternoon. Carl Lanigan, Ryan, a big future ahead of this young man, back after a knee injury to take his place today at tight head. Jonathan Byrne at hooker and Ronan Ryan at loose head. Michael O'Brien, Nathan O'Riordan, Alex Redden, Darren McKeough, Jaden Carmody, Daniel McGee, Rory O'Connor, Jerry Joyce, Harry McDonough and Rafa Junior Okofor, the replacements for Crescent Comp. Donald, an awful lot of talent in this Crescent College comprehensive side as they come out here. Who are you looking forward to seeing today?
Yeah, well, I've heard a lot about their captain Ryan in the second row. A big formidable guy. I was watching them warming up. He is a big lad. Obviously young Quinn, number 8, a hard act for him to follow. Rowan Quinn was an outstanding schools player. It only seems like yesterday since he was here. So look, I think the challenge up front, everybody's talking about that Christians front five, despite the fact they lost 2 serious players in Conor Keneally and George Good in the quarterfinals. So it's like everything else, no matter what level of rugby you play, you've got to get your set piece right, you've got to establish that bit of dominance early on. So I'm interested to see how Crescent cope with that.
Indeed, the atmosphere is building here in Virgin Media Park ahead of this Pinergy Munster School Senior Cup semi-final coverage in association with the Irish Examiner. This is being streamed by Streamsport, and we'd just like to take a moment before kick-off to wish Dermot Flaherty all the best as he recovers from illness. Dermot, we're all thinking of you here in Streamsport, and take it easy. Paul O'Connor, the man in the middle today from Limerick, officiating his first Munster Schools Senior Cup semi-final. Johnny Holland, mind games, we see Christians in their last bit of huddle and Crescent camp ready for the game. How important is an early start for the Limerick side here away from home?
Absolutely huge, because this is, I wouldn't say it's a home game for CBC, but they're used to being here. Now all the schools teams do play here, but especially at schools level, at any level, quick fast start will do a lot of good for each team. So Christians kicking off, putting the pressure under Crescent straight away. We'll see how they manage that.
We won't ask co-commentators for the dreaded match prediction, but we're almost set in this Pinergy Munster School Senior Cup semi-finals. Charlie O'Shea kicks it high into the Cork sky, well taken and tackled by CBC. Ball with Andrew Cleary at the base, finds his blindside flanker Charlie Fenton, played in last year's campaign for Crescent College Comprehensive. Wind is swirling down on the field as Cleary sends a high hanging kick, but it's well fielded by CBC fullback Ronan O'Keefe. Christians an early break there by Foy. Christians are on the move here inside the 10. He needs to get support on his inside, and he does get just that. Crescent College scrambling to defend here. Christians have got number out on the right hand side of O'Shea, can see it, and he decides to dig in behind. Ball bounces in behind into the hands of O'Riordan, and it goes out, and it just goes into touch. But Donal Lenihan, an electric start from CBC there.
Yeah, it certainly is, and we've seen Michael Foy, just how dangerous he is. Big man, he's been out injured for most of the year. I think this is one of his first games. Again, had the intelligence, if you like, to give the pass, but unfortunately, when it looked as if they had an overlap there, just a poor pass from Bill McCarthy at the end, straight into touch. That's a let-off for Crescent.
Referee Paul O'Connor has called a little bit of time off. Johnny, lovely bit of interplay by the forwards there to allow Foy get through the gap, as Donald said. Something perhaps we didn't see from that CBC team last year.
Yeah, absolutely, and that was definitely their aim, is to build on their game from last year. I think they were a little bit one-dimensional against Crescent in the final here last year as well. So I think Duncan Williams will take all the credit for that and loosening them up a small bit. But just as we're looking on there, you see Danny Rock made the first big hit as captain. That's what you're looking for from your captain, but unfortunately taking a knock there. You've also seen from the exit that Christians are going mad at the breakdown of Crescent Comp. So we'll see if that develops over time.
Ball in the hands of Jonathan Byrne.
Step 2 meters, go back 2 meters.
Crescent, the set piece faltered slightly against BBC. Put a lot of work into it over the last 3 weeks. It's well gathered by Crescent. Line out started inside, but it's now outside. Clearly communicated by O'Connor. Cleary has his half-back partner Cusack back in the 22. But Crescent will be happy with those early exchanges in Christians, adjudged to have brought that ball down.
Jumping on his back and pulling it down.
Yeah, I think just interesting, a lot of movement in the line-out from Crescent, on a dirty day like this, puts a bit of pressure on the hooker, but good execution from them. I think they'll be delighted. They know the battle they face up front, and to get that early penalty off that maul infringement is a good start for them.
Indeed, it is. Crescent trying to take the sting out of this CBC crowd down in front of us. All well behaved, as Johnny Holland rightly alluded to before. The wind does seem to be swirling there, as you can see from the touch judge's flag on the left hand side. Crescent electing to go towards the front of the line out, and gone with it.
Stay 2 meters, receiver, stay 2 meters. Are you receiver? No, you're in, okay.
Michael Foy and Skelly will look to disrupt from the Christian side. But Crescent go out over the top, and it's well taken by Quinn. Cleary, short little carry there. Crescent will be happy with these opening exchanges and carries getting over the gain line, allowing the platform. Cusack has a little look, goes outside, but is well marshalled by the CBC defence. And just a little bit of disruption there, and CBC will have the first scrum.
Yeah, we spoke just about that first line-out from Crescent. Again, in these conditions, having the bravery to go over the top like that. Super throw from young Byrne at hooker. But obviously Crescent, I think, you know, they probably feel against a bigger pack they have to be innovative, they got to change things around, and they've certainly done that early doors. But you know, we're here now. Just the penalty's been.
Referee Paul O'Connor dishing out the orders to the captains early doors. Johnny, it's probably something that needs to be done. We saw tempers fray in previous games, but Christopher Barrett, the judge, to have pushed there. Tommy Crowe won't be happy with that.
No, I think it's a bit harsh. It's early on in the game. Maybe he has to do it, and fair play to him. Maybe he does. Third man in, I think, from Christians was Conor Galvin, wasn't it? So I think he's given the penalty against him after the knock-on. Should have been a Christian scrum, but yeah, asserting himself early here.
Yeah, it would have been interesting to get that first scrum of the game. I know it's schools rugby. Am I right in saying they can only push a metre, I think? But still, it's all about the psychological contest, that first set. But here again now, Crescent, third line out of the game. Let's say they've already cut their numbers already.
You need to go in.
Conor Ryan last into the line out. 2 Crescent penalties from a scrum and an indiscretion from CBC have allowed the Limerick side early territory in CBC's half. Ryan again calling the line out. Plenty of movement and variation early doors. Ball just comes off the hand of Crescent, so we will play a scrum advantage to CBC as hooker Darragh Printer cleans up. O'Callaghan, the big loose head with the carry met by Lanigan Byrne of Crescent. O'Shea's pass goes out over the top, a little bit frantic, but we'll come back for the scrum. And Donal, you mentioned plenty of movement in that Crescent line-out. Maybe simplification is the order of the day.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, as we mentioned, Jonathan Byrne at hooker has been really impressive, spot on early on. But when there's that level of movement, you know, I think they got to see really, are Christians, are they competing in the air? Are they keeping their troops on the ground? They just have to assess this as the game is going on. But here we have the other key element now in terms of the scrum, that Christians front row. A lot of players back from last year. Certainly I know a lot of talk about their props, Dennis Callahan and Cian Walsh. Interesting to see how they go.
Feed. O'Shea orchestrates to go out the back to O'Leary. It's a good carry and some easy yards there for Christians as they look to up the pace. Little bounce and snipe from scrum half Barrett. And Barrett's still on the move here. He's got the whole leg to go. It doesn't look like anybody's going to catch him from Crescent as Rosen comes across. Barrett scored in the exact same position, but he's just held up short. Has he got the ball down? Yes, he has. And Johnny Holland, Christopher Barrett, who scored in almost an exact mirror place in the semi-final here last season with a wonderful break and out of nothing Christians lead.
Yeah, a frustrating start for Christians. You'll be looking at their coaches watching on for them giving away a couple of penalties and maybe getting no control over the game. But like we said before the game, Gavin O'Riordan up the middle, giving them go forward. The Crescent tackling was possibly a little bit suspect, leaving Gavin go through like that, and then Barrett sneaking around the edges, and like you said, it was going to be hard to catch him with that winger's pace.
Yeah, it was incredible. Tom O'Brien, the 7 for Crescent, actually had him and he left him go, and there was nobody in behind him. It looked as if Barrett was going to be caught. Great covering across from the Crescent winger, but just got the turn, placed the ball down at the end. Good start.
Chris Barrett, the winger turned scrum half. You might remember that try he scored against PBC in the semi-final qualifier a little over a year ago. Certainly knows his way to the try line as O'Shea lines this up right-footed. And it just shaves the right-hand post, but after just over 7 minutes here in this Pinergy Munster School Senior Cup semi-final in association with the Irish Examiner, it's 5 points to 0 with CBC. And Johnny, just a quick thing before kick-off there, perhaps Comp were shaping for a kick receipt there, but Christians decided to run, catching them off guard.
Yeah, absolutely. You might be thinking, you know, schools game, cup semi-final, they're in their own half, but Christians decided to do something else. And it's interesting, you see the flags behind the goal were going one way and the flag and the touchers near us were going another way. It's going to be difficult to kick a goal today.
Cusack, right-footed, kicks long, finds his opposite number. O'Shea has a little look up, right-footed, and finds a decent touch. And Crescent Comp will have a line out on the far 10 as they look to build an attack.
Yeah, I think they just got to hold the composure here. Mistakes are made. I think the disappointing thing is, you know, having competed reasonably well early on, it was a soft try, a defensive, really too soft in defence, and you know that's given Christians an additional target now.
Crescent have varied their first 2 lineouts. Plenty of movement. It's Ryan waits, an early jump from CBC, not pinged by Paul O'Connor.
Let me explain, okay? The first issue is you going up early, but you've also left the lineup. You haven't
6
rejoined.
of one, half a dozen of the other.
You must rejoin and stay down.
As Danny Rock judged to have gone up early, but Crescent infringing on the gap, so Paul O'Connor says we'll start the line out again.
Yeah, but it's just the more delays you have in terms of the throw, the more pressure it does put on the hooker. They're asking a lot of him.
Isn't that an infringement to leave the line out, isn't it? He's kind of coaching through here, so it's interesting to see.
Crescent go towards the front. It's well taken by Charlie Fenton. They look to set them all. Looks to be fairly stagnant as the CBC defence
No, that's available. Don't go in. Stay on.
Slow ball for Crescent here. Cusack getting his forwards out. Cusack. Crescent varying either side. Good hands by Ryan there, and they found a little space there, but judged to have gone forward. And CBC will restart with a scrum.
Yeah, I think it definitely came forward out of the hand there. Issue for Crescent at the moment, even from that line out, they're just not generating any momentum. Even, you know, we spoke about the scrum earlier, it can only go forward a metre, but from that 1 metre, Christians were able to get in and get over the gain line. It's they gotta speed up the quality of their ball if they want to try and stress that Christians defence to any degree.
CBC with a scrum just inside the 10-metre line. O'Shea has McCarthy on his inside.
Just interestingly, on the last play, I thought Christians were offside, but you can see Comper going both sides of the ruck. You know, they're trying to take that line speed away from Christians, so going the other side will hopefully force CBC to resource the other side and take a bit of heat off them on the open side eventually.
Johnny Holland eagle-eyed on defensive lines in Virgin Media Park this afternoon. CBC win the scrum through O'Shea. A little bit of variation out the back. Out the back again as O'Riordan goes. O'Leary. CBC finding good yards with width. They go around the corner again. Barrett snipes. Outside centre, Leo O'Leary. Barrett has Foy on the outside, has a man on his shoulder if he wants to tip it on, but he goes out the back to O'Shea. Nice little variation to O'Callaghan on the carries. CBC again, O'Shea, brilliant out the back. There's a skip on the inside here, and it's a 2-on-1 of CBC. And it's a wonderful pass on the outside. But the referee has said that the ball has gone forward, so it won't be a try for Alex O'Connell. Looked from where we were that the pass was there, but the call has been made by the referee, and Crescent get out of jail there, Donald.
I'd like to see it again. Certainly it looked lateral to me. I'd be interested to see the hands. In fairness, very good hands to actually create the overlap in the first place, because they were operating in a very little space. You just can see it here.
Stop changing your point, keep it where it is.
That's very harsh, I think.
Alas, we will restart.
Yeah, if you look at the direction of the hands, I think they're straight. They're not. There's no forward momentum there.
Cleary feeds. Quinn carries well off the back of the scrum. Christians going very hard after that Comp breakdown. Comp will know there can be little room for error here, as CVC seem to be in red hot form. This opening 12 minutes, Cleary sends it back. Ball finds grasses. There's a little bit of indecision between O'Connell and O'Keefe, and O'Keefe right-footed finds Crescent. It's a good carry by the open side. Tom O'Brien. Crescent just inside the half. As Ryan puts his hand up, the captain just perhaps took his eye off it, but it's cleaned up by his second row partner Copley, and Donald Comp seem a little bit nervous.
Yeah, they do, and but they have been under pressure early on. But look, I've seen so many schools games over the years when you have one team dominant for long periods, but they don't actually express it on the scoreboard, and the other team gets back in it, and all of a sudden there's a bit of panic. I think certainly Crescent are doing well to only be 5 points behind at this stage. You know, I hope it isn't a tight game, because I think that pass will certainly be scrutinised a little bit closer, but it's too late. They got to forget about it now and move on.
Barrett with the feed. O'Shea attacks the line, does like the gain line. Little pass on the inside too. O'Connell. Barrett again. Bounces to Captain Rock, and Rock tries to move it on to Foy, who regathers, but he's well marshalled by the Crescent defence. Rock again, not waiting for his scrum half, gets outside again. Big strong carrier is Rock. Barrett finds Foy. Foy steps on the inside, beats the first would-be tackler and gets 7 or 8 easy metres there. Barrett again to O'Shea. Multiple runners for O'Shea to sit down defenders, and Christians finding gaps. Crescent falling off tackles. But a breakdown turnover by Crescent. They just about managed to stem the tide. And Johnny Holland, you spoke about CBC varying their attack, both sides of the ruck. They've been a joy to watch, with Crescent's defence it certainly has been questionable.
Yeah, I suppose it's a little bit easier to find those gaps when you're going forward, isn't it? So the Crescent defence isn't doing them any favours in terms of slowing down that Christians ball, but they have been impressive. You know, the ball is moving freely. They look quite cohesive at the moment now, and if Crescent don't get another couple of stops, this could be trouble for them. But you know, it's interesting. I still can't tell what way the wind is going, but both Crescent halfbacks are getting a lot on their exits, so it may be something that will stand to them in the second half. If they do go into the wind, that they'll be able to get exits a little bit easier. Their kicking game looks to be good.
I don't think anybody in mid-air knows what way the wind is going, or clouds at the moment. But Evan Cusack's penalty finds the halfway line, and Jonathan Byrne, Comp have had 4 out of 5 lineouts, 80% success rate thus far. It's Ryan. That one, as a judge, doesn't look to have gone straight, and CBC will restart with a scrum.
Bit of nervousness there, and Christians, whether it's their own ball or Crescent, they've certainly got the nudge in every scrum, which does give them that little bit of confidence every time there's an engagement. It's a big front row. You look at those 2 props.
That was their simplest line-out, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And the truest skewed. You were both wrong about them.
Johnny Holland talking about lineouts.
That's where the attack starts, isn't it?
Yes, indeed it does, from set piece. But Christians have asserted dominance at scrum time and line-out time as they get the march. And O'Shea has the ball in his hands, has O'Leary and O'Riordan outside him. Finds O'Riordan again, but just goes out the back of O'Connell here. Ball squirts along the ground, but it's well cleaned up.
Yeah, that's not the first time Christians passing. You know, it hasn't been on the money, and you know, they're creating opportunities, but they got to get that passing, put the ball in front of the player.
Rock again from number 8. Played open side last year, moved to number 8 after the injury to the captain, Éanna McCarthy. O'Callaghan carries well himself, and Carl Lanigan Ryan have had quite the battle. And Crescent, to their credit, they may have struggled in the opening periods defensively, Johnny, but at the breakdown they've certainly made amends.
Yeah, 2 big wins there, and I suppose that's what they're going to be looking for now that, you know, Christians had a bit of dominance. If they can use the breakdown to slow down that attack, but also get possession back themselves, like Donald said, it's only 5-0, and if you get another ball on the ground and there's a transition, or if they keep winning penalties like that, Christians are going to find it hard to get space away from them.
Yeah, I think Crescent have been cute in the breakdown as well, and that Christians have big ball carriers, but it's almost as if they let them get an extra yards. They get separation from their support, and then the poacher, he doesn't engage early on, and he's in, he gets hands on straight away. So quite intelligent, I think. Good preparation from Crescent, because they know they're up against it in terms of trying to stem the tide in the carry. But interesting to see if they continue this throughout the game.
Indeed, Johnny, as there's a break in play, the variation from CBC's attack, we've seen obviously the pass that was or wasn't forward, but the last pass not sticking. As Donald says, the more the game goes on with it being one score, that could potentially get into the minds of the Christians players.
It could, absolutely, but I think luckily for them, they're winning the very close exchanges, so they've got their latches on and they're going forward, and you see the Michael Foys, Danny Rocks of the world. I think they can revert to type if they need to, and they'll probably get a handle back on this game as well. So luckily for Christians, I think they'll be able to do it both ways at the moment.
Cusack, superbly right-footed, lands Crescent to within 10 metres of the CBC line as they have the meeting of minds slowly as they head towards this line-out.
As we look at that assistant referee over, certainly the wind is blowing into that far corner. Super kick, as you mentioned, from Cusack. Big chance for Crescent here now.
Fenton at the front. Ryan, the captain and caller, in the middle of the line-out, has his second row partner, Copley, in the middle. Copley, the dummy, as they go towards Ryan. The first part is there. But referee O'Connor says there's a free kick on the signal. Leaving the line out early, I think he said there, Donald, with the dummy jumper coming out. We'll see it here again. where he's come out, so he's
yeah,
two receivers.
4 hands left the line out there. He's trying to get in to make a hit early on in terms of the drive. You see that penalised all the time. That and just the illegal blocking on the ground when you get in behind the lifter. It's so easy to pick up.
Lee Nicholas of Crescent Camp will certainly not be happy with giving up such.
Well, it's really annoying when you work so hard. Their first entry, 10 metres from that Christian's line, you've got to nail those opportunities.
Crescent again through Byrne with the line out. Little bit of indecision here from Crescent, and set piece has been a real problem as Christians play. Nice little offload, sees Darragh Printer get precious yards as Foy carries 2 would-be tacklers, but Foy still gets over the gain line. Barrett bounces again. Having a really good afternoon is Barrett at 9, the try scorer after 9 minutes here in the semi-final. Lanigan Ryan, looks like there may have been no arms in that tackle, and Rock lucky to land safely on the ground. Referee O'Connor, you'd imagine, will have a word here. But Christians, Johnny Allen, you pinpointed it, they're getting very easy yards on those first 2 or 3 carries, which is allowing the space to open up.
Yeah, it is just a little bit too easy there. I do think that tackle was a bit unfortunate. I know there was he went beyond the horizontal, but there was a small bit maybe of a jump or a lightning into the tackle. I think there was an attempt at a wrap, maybe a little bit of good force, I would say, dominant tackle, but just got it slightly wrong. Penalty only is the right call, I think.
O'Shea, right-footed. That wind is in favour of Crescent, as you'll see that ball hanging up in the air. But CBC will have their first set piece in the Crescent Comp 22. It's taken nearly 20 minutes. But you'd imagine the CBC side are in here to maul. Nice variation as Mark Skelly gets the ball. Dennis O'Callaghan has set a good base at the front of that CBC maul, and they look to move as Barrett barks the orders. Got 3 players in close proximity as O'Riordan takes a lovely little carry, bounces off the first and second tackler. CBC eking yards forward. The 22. Foy is well tackled by Jonathan Byrne of Crescent. Barrett, lovely little bounce on the inside, but referee O'Connor says there's been a knock on, and again Crescent off the hook there.
Yeah, the old Antoine Dupont reverse pass, unfortunately for Christians. I think Cian Walsh wasn't as tuned in as he should have been, but Barrett at scrum half, he's a live wire. I mean, he's a kind of a sliver of a lad, but he always seems to break the first tackle. He's a great handoff.
Positionally there, Johnny, difficult to move from the wing into scrum half, but Christopher Barrett seems to have taken like a duck to water.
Yeah, I think he's played 9 before that anyway, hasn't he? So I think he's get that man on the ball a bit more. I think that's the aim of it. But I think to be fair to Crescent, like they stopped that maul pretty well, and you could argue a penalty against Christians as well in the way they set up the maul. If you didn't slag me, I'd talk about that more. But I think they were hard done by there as well.
I think the dark arts will certainly be spoken about over the halftime refreshments, but referee O'Connor says Christians have infringed. Looks like Dennis O'Callaghan at the loose head side, adjudged to have gone down. And all the while Crescent, with 15 minutes to go to half time, have survived a barrage of Christians' attack.
Yeah, and as we said, the longer this game goes on, you get to half time. Now it does seem as if Crescent have the aid of that wind in the first half, but concern for Christians here now with Michael Foy, who we mentioned. I think he lost out in the latter stages of the cup competition last year, hasn't played a whole lot this year, so Christians will be keeping their fingers crossed that he's okay. He's been aggressive in the carry in terms of it isn't just power, he has a good step, which you mentioned Joe McCarthy. I mean, that's something he's developed over the last 12 months, and certainly Foy has been impressive with the way he's carried the ball to date so far.
Second row sidestepping has certainly been a feature of plenty of Munster Schools games. Worth noting, Michael Foy, captain of the Irish under-19s, has been a real force, was brilliant in last year's competition, so here's hoping he gets back to his feet again there. Johnny, in terms of the messaging here, with 10 or 15 minutes to go to half-time, what do you think the message for Crescent will be?
I think Crescent have just been surviving a small bit, haven't they? Like a bit of territory wouldn't go astray, but I suppose that comes back to how much they're leaking in defence. But when they did get into the 22, like, they've had enough entries to draw this game, if not be ahead by whatever kick they might get if they got their try on the board. So small bit of accuracy maybe, and there was nervousness in them. I think they can unleash a small bit more, going down the short side, and all that seems to be working for them. So they just need to get their hands on the ball now and get into their flow a bit more. But Christians, I think, have missed an opportunity there, maybe trying to be a bit too clever going back inside. If they just went around the corner and got a rumble on, you'd back them to score at this stage.
Foy takes his place back in the line out. It's Crescent through Ryan. Find the mid part of the line out, and there's no Nansen here from Cusack and Cleary. Cleary right footed is blocked down by Foy. Foy tries to regather, but it's just knocked down into the hands of Fionn Rosum, a real live wire for Crescent. Hasn't seen much of the ball.
Yeah, I'd like to see that again to see where Foy came from. Was he behind the hindmost foot there?
I think what actually happened was a 9 played the ball with his hands, and the ball seemed to be out. Lee Nicholas will know all about that. He did the same thing to poor Louis Cannon, Corkon and Temple Hill at the weekend, so he can't argue with that one.
Yeah, a little bit of a spillage from Cleary at 9 will lead to this scrum again. As we said, the only try of the game coming from Christopher Barrett, the CBC scrum half, after 9 minutes. It's been largely Christians' possession in this semi-final, but still only one score. As Cleary feeds the scrum, they go on the blind side. Cleary right-footed. Ball wasn't touched, so Crescent need to be careful on the chase here. Full back Ronan O'Keefe decides he's going to have a run back and finds just inside the half. Referee O'Connor gives a penalty. Crescent not rolling away. Looked like there was a man on the ball, but a Crescent player penalised for not rolling away, and this is going to be easy access again, you'd imagine, for O'Shea, close to the Crescent 22.
I think the referee, he blew it incredibly fast. I mean, difficult for O'Brien. At least give him an opportunity to get out of the way.
Yeah, I think what the referees are saying to us a lot is about that breakdown hygiene, and if someone's going to put their hands at the ball, you better have nobody in the way. So we can see it here again, and the ball is stopped from coming back. Unfortunately, Tom O'Brien is in the way there, and if you put your hands on the ball, the referee is left with a little chance. But I agree with you, Donal. Yeah. It's very hard to get out of the way.
It is. I mean, no, it's great that they're trying to encourage, quick recycling, keeping the ball alive, but just a little harsh.
A lot easier from where we're standing in our commentary position.
But I find it very hard. You get a good low tackle, which they're encouraging obviously with the tackle height laws, and they're getting players around the softer parts of the belly, and then they get caught inside the tackle and we're not able to get away from the ruck,
Much to be debated in this Pinergy Munster School Senior Cup semi-final as Christians go on the attack again, and it's a wonderful break by the winger Bill McCarthy, and McCarthy is going again. He's got a player inside him. He's winger Alex O'Connell, and McCarthy and O'Connell through themselves have got 80 metres here, and Crescent hanging on as Christians are 2 metres short of the line. It's going to be tight as the back row jumps over the ruck. Referee says he's not down. Conor Galvin trying to get in. Barrett finds Foy. Low tackle needed, and Foy, as O'Brien looks to have hands on it, but referee says hands away. Christians just 2 metres away here. As the forwards and the artillery are in. Dara Printer with a carry just short. Crescent try and counter ruck, but referee O'Connor says they're in from the side, and CBC 5 metres out.
Yeah, you feel that they have to score here. They've been putting on all the pressure. Brilliant break from McCarthy, and to be fair, to get the support on the inside from the other winger Alex O'Connell from the right wing out on the left wing.
O'Shea no doubt sends it into the corner 5 metres out. Christians have been prolific at line-out time. Rock, Foy and Skelly, any one of a number of recipients here. They're going 5+1, and Foy is the intended target at the front. But referee O'Connor, much like Crescent, penalised in the left-hand corner. Early man leaving the line-out again as a second recipient. Infuriating from a coach's perspective, but consistency.
Yeah, well, it is consistent. Both teams guilty of just lack of composure. 5-6 metres. They're probably getting away with that all year, and then you come to the semi-final of the Cup and you're pinged twice.
Referee O'Connor in to explain, as you can hear, to the Christians pack. fascinating
Once the ball is thrown, you're going before the
battle
ball, your
thus
timing
far.
is off.
After 26 minutes, Christians will be disappointed to only be 5 points ahead, but Crescent riding their luck.
Absolutely, and you know, as I've mentioned, over the years I've seen so many school games of this nature. The better team doesn't always win, and you know, to be fair to Crescent, they're tenacious, they're competing brilliantly at the breakdown. Christians have had all the line breaks, they've had the big carries, they've enjoyed, I'd say, more territory and possession, but they only have that one try to show for it.
Referee O'Connor speaking to Rock to clarify the position, as O'Callaghan still receives a little bit of attention there. Johnny, we were here for this game last year, and Crescent came back from the dead from 12 points down, so they will know at the back of their heads, no matter what way this game goes, it's not over till it's over.
Yeah, psychologically that stands for a lot, you know. But I think if you're looking at the game at the moment, like, Christians have the players that can break up the game. In Barrett at 9 and Bill McCarthy on the wing. I think Alex O'Connell is looking lively as well. They do have the players like Michael Foy through the middle of it. They have the players that look like they're going to probably have a stamp on the game, but I have been very impressed with Conor Ryan. I think he looks like their captain. He's speaking to the ref and breaks of play. He's taking on himself in the line out, you know. I think he's stepping up. Unfortunately, he gave away that penalty. He was slightly in the side on the counter ruck. I think it could be debated, but they've got leaders on both sides now.
Cusack's penalty, a free kick, finds touch, and Foy the recipient for Christians as Barrett finds O'Shea. Lovely little interplay. Finds Skelly. O'Shea again wide from the ruck. Lovely little in and out. McCarthy goes well as Crescent go really hard after that scrum. And referee O'Connor says it'll be a penalty to Crescent, holding on at the ruck. And Comp targeting a lot of breakdowns and getting success in those wide channels, Donald.
Yeah, they certainly are. I mean, it's been the highlight of their play, I think, in the opening half. Christians making the yardage, getting those breaks, and but they're just not resourcing the ruck properly.
I think that attacking interplay, to be fair to them, it's really exciting, and no doubt Duncan Williams has a bit. He'd be texting me during matches, did you see this and did you see that? So no doubt he's had an impact on that. But you see some of the Christians players have been left on their own because of him with the lines that they're running, and Crescent have picked them off once or twice. That was their tight head prop, Lanigan Ryan, in fairness to him. Nice and mobile getting into that breakdown very quickly to turn the ball over, and look at their field position now.
Cusack's right boot worth its weight in gold. His penalty has landed Comp just outside the 22. A number of Christians players have been down in the opening 25 minutes with what looks like cramp, which is rather unusual for this stage of the game, but the stop-start nature of the game, Crescent not perhaps getting into their flow.
Yeah. I'm just wondering how many are but they play on 4G pitches a lot. You know, it does make a difference to teams who'd be used to playing grass all year now. I presume they would have been well prepared for that at this stage, but it is a different surface. It does take a while to get used to.
I think that adds to the whole rumble on the synthetic surface as well. When Christians are going forward like that, you know, it's easier to break tackles, get fast ball, a little bit of a roll on the ground as well. So it's interesting to see if they can keep up that ruck speed.
Triple dummy from Crescent leads to a messy line out. We'll restart with a scrum with CBC. Dunlennon, you called it. Rock saw there with a 3-step dummy just sit at the front and get up and challenge.
Yeah, and you know, neither side have been competing that much in the air, but I think Christians are beginning to read what Crescent are doing. And Rock, he's you know, good spring on him. He's easy to get up in the air. He had Michael Foy and behind him, just watching the opposition feet, and he was the guy who turned in the end and just catapulted Rock up into the air.
Barrett feeds the scrum. Finds O'Riordan. O'Riordan has his blindside winger who holds down a man, but O'Riordan takes charge and carries. Barrett finds his forwards again as they look to carry. Barrett shaping here for a box kick as they try and get length in the ruck to stop Comp. Barrett sends it up into the air. Fielded well by Samuel Jordan, does very well under massive pressure from O'Shea with Christians. Rock tries to make a menace at the breakdown. Close in carry again by Comp, good fight by Ronan Ryan, the loose head. There seems to be a pattern developing here where Comp certainly don't want to play any rugby in their own half. As Cleary again kicks it high up into the sky. It's fielded by Ronan O'Keefe, who's inside the 22, and O'Keefe says enough's enough and finds touch just short of the halfway line. teams still trying to find a little bit out about each other, but you'd imagine Christians playing into that win will be the happier in terms of possession.
Absolutely. I think if they get into half time like this, they'll be quite happy with how they can manage the game in terms of kicking for territory in the second half. But interestingly, as the half has developed, if you were the Christians coaches and every time the ball goes into a breakdown you get more and more nervous, because Crescent have been going after a breakdown, and as they're setting rucks to try and kick out of their own half, Crescent are putting them under a lot of pressure, and if there's a turnover there, all of a sudden there's an entry. So you won't be if you were the Christians coaches, I don't think you'll be overly relaxed at the moment.
Foy really making immense of himself as Printer is on the move here, and the hooker's got a long way to go. It doesn't look like anybody could potentially catch him as Russell comes across, but Printer scores an unbelievable gallop from the hooker there, a malfunction at the Crescent lineout, and much like Christopher Barrett scoring out of nothing, again Johnny Holland, Darragh Printer does just that and shows a clean pair of heels.
A clean pair of heels is right. There was some gas to go through there. Just as I was saying, the Christians coaches might be a little bit more nervous. When you're a coach and a player does something like that for you, you remember for a while, because that's a little bit of breathing space that they needed, and probably deserved, to be fair, with the territory and possession that they've had and how dangerous they look, but they hadn't earned their scores. That's a breakaway.
Yeah, it's a killer really, Johnny, isn't it? I mean, you look at the clock now, 4 minutes to half time. Crescent, they've been hanging in there. They've stifled that Christians attack. But when they look at the two tries they conceded, really, the Barrett one was a missed tackle and a 30-metre sprint to the line. And Printer, incredible pace from a hooker. And, he was pulling away all the time. Opportunistic, loose ball off a line-out. And that really is a killer blow for Crescent.
Printer undoubtedly will be telling that story. The try will gain legs over the years, but what a clean pair of heels from that young man, and he's given Christians a 10 points to 0 lead as O'Shea lines up the conversion. Good strike by O'Shea, but just short, really difficult in the windy conditions, so the score remains 10 points to 0. Tries through Chris Barrett and Darragh Printer have the Cork side firmly in control.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Crescent react to that now, because that really is a kick to the solar plexus. If they could get any points 3-4 minutes before half time, they're going to have to try and they're kicking very deep. They're not putting any pressure on the receivers, and as a result of that, Christians are getting a free kick to touch.
Rock feels Cusack's restart. Christians through Foy. The artillery arrive, and Christians certainly getting into this groove in the Pinergy Munster Schools Senior Cup, as there's a little block down there by the captain Ryan. Falls back into the hands of Christians. Are going to have a little run for the 22, but they're well met by the comp defence. The chop and tag focus yields the reward here, and the referee says, and Johnny Holland with your magic 8 ball, anytime Christians have a ruck, they'd be nervous, particularly in the position they're in now.
And you look at schools rugby, you look at the time on the clock, and as your fullback gets that after the block down, welly that as far as you can and hopefully get it towards touch even better. And I think that's what the coaches will be talking about when they get into the dressing room. We're in full control. We're able to take the pace out of the game when we want to, and you don't need to run across your 22 like that, I suppose.
Yeah, and Johnny, you had picked out Conor Ryan, the Crescent captain. He was the guy who blocked the initial kick. And, just putting that pressure on, chasing lost causes. And ironically, we just mentioned, if they conceded 3 points beforehand, it's their first kick of goal, I think, for Cusack. So
Cusack's right boot from hand has been faultless. His first shot at goal in this semi-final, looking to steady the ship for a Crescent side who haven't had much territory in this first half. It's a good clean strike by Cusack, and Crescent College Comprehensive are on the board. Score 10 points to 3, and referee Paul O'Connor has blown the half-time whistle. So in this Pinergy Munster Schools Senior Cup semi-final, it is 10 points to 3. Tries through Christopher Barrett and Darragh Printer just before the half. Evan Cusack with the sole response from Crescent Comp. Sum up that first half for us, Donal.
Interesting, I have to say. Christians, they looked the superior side, and but to be fair to Crescent, defensively they've certainly in and around the breakdown, they've picked their moments well. I think they've rode their rock a little bit, but that said, the 2 tries the Christians have on the board are slightly fortuitous. And just looking there now, Lee Nicholas, the coach of Crescent, chatting to the referee at half-time. He looks as if David Lee is in there as well. He's involved with Christians, trying to get, I'd say, some form of clarity on what's happening in and around the lineup, because both of them have been penalised there, and it's an area that they both want to launch a lot of their attack plays from.
Johnny, a lot of very impressive players on both sides, but in terms of the messaging for Crescent into the second half, playing into this wind, what would be the key points for yourself?
I think for them, it's going to play into their hands the way they were playing the first half anyway. When you're into the wind a small bit, you do probably have to take the line speed away from Christians and go down the short side a bit as well. You can still find kicks and you can still find territory, and obviously we've just seen there, if they can put pressure in their kick chase and get turnovers, they'll get their way back into this game as well. So I don't think you panic too much psychologically. I know you've been into the psychology of this game from the start of it. Psychologically, having one score between the two teams just before half time, or just on the stroke of half time, that's a huge lift for Crescent now, because they're not so far away all of a sudden.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see playing against the wind, Johnny. They haven't actually moved a lot of ball. We haven't seen 1/3-quarter movement in touch, and depending if that wind picks up, they might have to do that to try and get some yardage out of it. So a bit of adjustment for both sides. Interestingly, Crescent, I noticed, staying on the field, whereas Christians gone back into the dressing room.
Another psychological battle. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Well, for all the psychological battles and to see how the second half goes, do stay tuned in, and we'll be back shortly.
Top teams in the world together in the Six Nations.
The energy transition is happening. Now is the time to change. Time to move from polluting to preserving, consuming to creating. Time to act on your energy. To understand it, save it, even sell it. Because today's decisions will transform tomorrow. Pinergy, powering energy transition.
To all the fans out there, we know how much you care. To everyone who believes this could be their year,
So much. And then the quality of rugby that's been played.
we're always here. Wherever your team or heroes roam, there's one place we can all call home. The Irish Examiner, where sport lives.
Welcome back to Virgin Media Park for this Pinergy Munster Schools Senior Cup semi-final coverage in association with the Irish Examiner. In the company of Darragh Frawley, Donal Lenihan and Johnny Holland. Gentlemen, the wind still seems to be swirling. 10 points to 3 and the game is delicately poised. As Cusack restarts the second half. Well taken by Cian Walsh of CBC. CBC with an incredible amount of possession and try scoring opportunities. The tries coming through Barrett and hooker Darrell Prenter in the first half. Ball is well fielded by Ryan Scanlon. The halfway line. As Foy tries to make amends at the ruck, and Christian's very hard off the line there. Lanigan Ryan does well to ride the first tackle. And Cleary blocked down by Rock. Didn't have his pillar there. As Rossum tries to get out, but Rock covers the grass. And a little bit of nervousness creeping in for Comp there early doors.
Yeah, it certainly was. And, we've seen now that's both Foy and Rock putting pressure on the scrum half. Likewise, Ryan didn't manage to do it in the first half. Interesting to see any big change of approach in terms of, obviously the Christians slow coming into the line-out. I've no doubt both teams trying to get clarification from the officials about those indiscretions around the line-out.
Lovely little throw jump from Christians, but a little bit of miscommunication as Foy and Galvin have a conversation.
That's really infuriating. You spend so much time getting your movement, getting your options and variations. You win good ball and just turn it over so easily.
Crescent rode their luck on a number of occasions in the first half. And as Johnny Holland has said, the work at the breakdown allowed them 3 points while it being a one-score game. Crescent will know they have every opportunity. Cleary, right-footed, sends it in behind and finds grass over the head of Bill McCarthy. He's running O'Keefe. Ran in the first half and O'Keefe counter-attacking, looks to go. O'Shea is well marshalled by the Crescent defence, but offloads again to O'Keefe, and O'Keefe tries to play. Gets outside, but Crescent swarm the Christians' attack. Good line speed there by the second row, Oren Copley. Crescent, but O'Shea says we'll not play in our half. Sends it in behind, looks to be a wonderful kick, looking for the 50-22, but it lands just outside, and Rossum looks to go quickly, but a wonderful piece of kicking, Johnny Holland, there from O'Shea.
Yeah, it was, and it wasn't before its time. I think if you were the Christians coaches, you'd be wondering, what are you doing at the moment? A cup game, semi-final, wind at our back, I think, to a degree. You'd be looking for a bit of territory, but well played and a good bit of mature play from Charlie O'Shea to put the ball deep into the comp half.
Line out just outside the 22, so it will be in favour of Crescent as Carl Ryan gives the pre-call. See what words of wisdom were imparted at half-time. Crescent's line out in the first half not functioning to the level required by Lee Nicholas. Nice little throw jump there again. Copley the recipient. Cleary the 9. Sends it up into the air. It's a good box kick. It will be a tester for O'Keefe, but referee O'Connor has given a penalty against Crescent for a push in the back of Alex O'Connell there, fairly clear cut.
Well, it's just silly. I mean, you're chasing a kick. It was a good hanging kick. He had an opportunity to put pressure on O'Keefe, and just the chasing winger pushed the Christians wing out of the way, straight in front of the line of the referee.
I know he's doing it because he's obviously slowing his pace in front of him, but that's not illegal. He didn't change lanes or he didn't do anything.
Yeah, but you don't have to get out of the way.
No.
You can't step across a guy, but you don't have to step out of the way.
As the rain comes down in Virgin Media Park, it's out over the top, but it's caught by O'Callaghan, and he knows only one way, and that's forward. And Christians will look to rumble around the corner here. Foy, good carry again. Christians really getting yards off those two first phase carries. Little dummy line. Skelly carries again, looking ominous for Crescent here. O'Shea has a rear outside, but O'Shea goes himself. And 4 phases, even though there's an overthrow, and Christians cut Crescent apart.
Yeah, what a crucial try. Again, the half-back's been instrumental in that, but you go back. I think it was Cian Walsh was the tight head who made that initial carry. Skelly, a very good carry, good ball placement out of him, and again, Crescent for the first time not being able to get their hands in, not slowing the recycle of that ball, and O'Shea just couldn't believe it. The space opened up in front of him, and great way to start the half, but that's a hammer blow for Crescent.
I'm just surprised at the athleticism of tight head props these days. He caught a ball a while ago that was loose and he was turning and twisting, and you saw the same thing on the other side from Lanigan Ryan, getting across the ground into the breakdown. So there's serious athleticism on show too.
Cool heads will be the call here, Donald, for Crescent underneath the post. They need a reaction here.
Yeah, they do. It's going to be difficult for them now that the rain is coming down, makes handling that bit more difficult.
O'Shea, right-footed, just slides out past the right post, but after 40 minutes here in this Pinergy Munster School Senior Cup semi-final, Christians lead by 15 points to 3.
Yeah, but that's 3 tries I think Christians have scored now. None of them have been converted, and on another day, tighter games, those might come back to haunt you. I know it's difficult conditions for place kickers, but we got to be nailing those.
That's because I put the curse on him earlier by saying he's a good kicker.
Referee O'Connor not happy with the ball. Cusack will restart again. Conditions really deteriorating here in Virgin Media Park. Cusack goes long to the 22 and Rock knocks that ball on, and the Christians players are in front. And they say you're most susceptible after just scoring. We've seen case in point there.
But that's twice we've seen it now, that Christians tried just before half time when Crescent managed to get a foothold in their 22. They got that 3 points out of that. They've no choice here, they feel, but go for the corner. And this is Daniel Rock, who has had a really impressive game. He was the one who unfortunately let it slip between his fingers.
Cusack, right-footed. Crescent well into the double figures here on lineouts. Start of this second half is Captain Ryan.
Be interesting now to see, Johnny, you mentioned Lee Nicholas, the Crescent coach, and Shannon back row forward. If he managed to get any clarity in and around this area, because you would feel it's big opportunity for that Crescent maul to try and do some damage.
A little bit of indecision on the line out here is Ronan Ryan looks to change call, and at the last minute Crescent go for a 6-man. Copley they look to set the base early. Christians trying to roll around the forward, but Crescent have managed to get forward. But referee O'Connor says they've infringed in front, crossing in the maul. And again, the technicalities in this game, Donald, particularly up front, have been really costly for both sides.
I think it's you just see there in behind Michael Foy. I'm not quite sure who it is. There's definitely, that's exactly what they pick up, obstruction, gun in behind.
No touch from Christians in Rosum. A rare sight of open field in front of him brings Comp into the Christians half. Captain Ryan is met by Prenter and Foy. It's Cleary, right-footed again, looks to get in behind. O'Keefe is under pressure here. Does very well to field, but Christians adjudged to have been sealing off at the ruck, and Comp will have another effort to go into the corner here.
Yeah, I think that seems to be the Crescent way in the second half. Kick the ball, put pressure on the ruck, try and get something from it, and they did there. I think Christians were going off their feet and they got a penalty to go into the corner to get another go at it. But I think it was Cathal Lanigan Ryan went around from the back of the line out. I don't know why he went so far forward, but he gave away the opportunity. I think Christians got away with one in the first half in the opposite corner in that 22, but it was a lot more cohesive. It was from the lifters, but this time it was just the back of the line out going so far forward.
They were bound as well, whereas Lanigan Ryan had sort of gone on a solo run, and he's a big lad. You could see his big mop of hair there at the back of the maul and made it easy for the referee to. But Crescent got to sort this out. They're just giving away too many penalties in key positions.
Almost imagine a peel of sorts, and they do just that at the front. Comp need to stay away from that touchline. They're being targeted at the breakdown. Referee O'Connor says hands away. Crescent very narrow on that as Loosehead O'Callaghan counters. No love lost between these two sets of forwards here.
Yeah, Christians looking to counter-ruck, going off their feet, and that's twice in a row. They're giving away penalties. We're going for the short variation now.
Captain Ryan says they're going to try a 5-metre tap. It's at the feet of hooker Jonathan Byrne here, and Byrne goes on the inside. It's a nice little variation, but it's well read for Christians on the first phase. Comp 2 metres short here. Really feel they have to get a score here. Byrne agonisingly close to the line there, as you can see on the screen. Just about half a metre short. Crescent zigzagging in attack. Foy and Skelly tried to defend. Carry again, but the Christians' defence is adjudged to have been offside. The ball may have been on the line there, but the referee says play on. Loosehead Ronan Ryan carries.
Yeah, I think there was a knock on in the middle of that.
Cusack juggles the ball, but will come back for a penalty. There certainly was. I think the referee was blindsided on that front, but I'd like to see that again, as that ball may have actually been on the line.
Yeah.
No television match official here this afternoon, but
well, on the line is good enough. Just there,
dropped it there. Yeah,
that's put it out. Incredible defence by Christians, just getting that low, getting your hand in, preventing the Crescent player from propelling himself over the line. But you feel Crescent, they have to get something out of this sustained period of pressure. They've really put it up to Christians. Referee giving a warning to both sides now, because there's too many penalties in a crucial area on the field. But some of the Crescent players there, one of them down injured. They're looking for some assistance.
But I think Christians have to be careful on that short side, don't they? Bill McCarthy was fairly on his own if Crescent had seen it a couple of phases earlier, and I couldn't actually see the edge there, but it looked like Crescent were attacking there for a reason. Unfortunately, Cusack just couldn't get the ball out of his hands. But it comes back again. I wouldn't call it school stuff. I think it's amateur rugby, hit nearly even as far up as senior international you see it at times. A mistouch, and Christians should have been in more control, we'd say, and under less pressure, because they should have had their own line out and putting their stamp on the game, maybe controlling the tempo, but unfortunately not. Crescent got the ball, kicked it into the air, put pressure on the breakdown afterwards, and got their penalty back, so that's why we're here.
Well, it's been a feature of the game, Johnny. Every time that somebody has scored, they automatically hand the initiative back to the other side instead of hammering that advantage and putting more pressure on.
And that's that ominous scoreline there, isn't it? 15-3 from last year.
Yes, it certainly is. No shortage of drama here in the Pinergy Munster Schools Senior Cup semi-final. Crescent discussing the possible variations here. Christian stacked very, very close, you'd imagine. A hit up and try and find a space towards the right-hand side here, as Comp 2 metres short. A lot of bodies in that ruck. Christians have been told discipline must be upheld. Comp through Ryan here. Pick and go. Prenter has been totemic all afternoon on both sides of the ball for Christians. The try scorer in the first half put in a huge shift. Crescent again through the back rower. Fenton agonisingly close again as Ryan lifts. They're heading towards that post there, and Crescent look like they're going to be held up over the line, and Michael Foy comes out with the ball, and right-footed Foy finds the grass, and the bounce has been reasonably kind as Cusack carries in, but he's well marshalled by Alex O'Connell and Rock of Christians. The temperature rising here in Virgin Media Park this afternoon. Crescent will be reeling from not scoring there, but Foy with a big turnover and kick, and Captain Ryan is set back on it. CBC have driven Comp the whole way back into their half, but it's a nice little line there again from Fenton. Cusack out the back. Rosum goes, the ball is in the hands of Scanlon, who goes on the inside. The Crescent crowd just about coming into this game here. Copley, one off carry, hit very hard by that CBC defence. Cleary, slow ball, trying to generate a little bit of quick ball. Calls of leave it Christians from referee O'Connor. It's a good carry again by Fenton. Go forward ball, much needed. As referee Quinn looks to have been offside there, and O'Shea looks up right-footed and finds space there. It's a good kick out of O'Shea. Christians really chasing down here, and Comp have 4 in the backfield, but they look to go. Going to have to show a little bit of adventure here, but with that comes danger. Comp just about survived a breakdown in this instance. Referee Ryan throws his hands up in the air as Comp try and build phases here. They're electing for the time being not to exit, but you'd imagine with the amount of time left in the game, they need to play the percentages here. Well fielded in the backfield there by Christians. Crescent go really hard after the breakdown. It looked like they've turned the ball over again, and it's a nice little dink over the top by Cleary. It's the replacement, number 25, Dara O'Callaghan for Christians, filling in at the full-back position. He's found Cusack, right-footed, who tries to spiral, but that's sliced. And there's an opportunity here with all the Crescent players being offside from the kick, and Rock goes forward. Crescent are short here on the left-hand side if they go, and they look to do that. Noshea has the ball in hand, a lovely little give and go, and O'Riordan is tackled very well there by Scanlon. Barrett finds his forwards. Christians all afternoon getting yards, but referee O'Connor says the arrival at the breakdown was off their feet, and the indiscretion has cost them 10 metres.
Yeah, it's madcap stuff, really. You go back to the short penalties there. Charlie Fenton, who's really come into the game, I think, for Crescent, but no deception whatsoever from the tap. I mean, he's not going to barrel his way over. Even the likes of Gavin Coombs, you know, there's doing that for Munster. There's a bit of deception created. What a clearance. I don't know how Michael Foy got his hands in there. Not alone that, you just see him, gets his hands on the ball, rips it away. He almost got a magnificent touch out of a little spiral kick from behind the goalpost. But it's just mistakes, and here we're seeing another one.
Cusack, first kick, got it right this afternoon, and O'Callaghan, right-footed, finds an incredible touch there. Very difficult for Cusack to field that, but since O'Callaghan's introduction, his right boot looks to be a real asset in the second half, Johnny.
Yeah, and I think maybe that's just the difference between the teams, because, you know, Christians have made some early subs. There was one made in the pack as well. I think Conor Galvin had gone off. I didn't see who came on.
Yeah, it's, I think it's Ian Martin, who's he was the guy who did one of the two early tackles in and around the short penalty.
When you look at, you know, Ronan O'Keefe came off, and Dara O'Callaghan has played Munster under 18s, isn't he? So, like, when you're bringing that kind of quality off the bench. But when you look at Michael Foy I think was actually part of that tackle. So maybe the turnover, when you're looking back at that on video, Lee Nicholas won't be too happy with that. But it's the tackles on the inside from the likes of Cian Walsh throwing his weight around in his strength, and as Michael Foy comes up with the ball, but a lot of good work on the inside as well by the tight five.
The dark arts at the breakdown as Byrne finds a wonderful line out at the tail. Quinn with a good take. Christians legally take that down, says referee O'Connor. Cleary will set up here for the box, and referee O'Connor is going to have a conversation with Michael Foy and Captain Rock here. You'd imagine the indiscretions have become a little bit too much, but it seems, Donald, the only way, as Michael Foy gets yellow carded, the only way that Comp are getting easy field position here is through CBC's indiscretion and penalties.
Yeah, it is, and you know, when you have that 12-point lead, you can afford to, you know, err on the side of caution. And Michael Foy now sees yellow. I think it's 7 minutes. So Christians have to negotiate this period now. And if ever Crescent are going to get back into the game, this is the window. The bit of mist that we had has also dried up. So they've got to try and capitalise on this numerical advantage now.
Just over 18 and a half minutes to go here in this Pinergy Munster School Senior Cup semi-final. Christians leading by 15 points to 3 as Jonathan Byrne prepares to throw into the line-out. Captain Ryan with movement. They go towards the tail again, and Quinn and Comp stand over the would-be sacker in that maul. There's a little bit of Mortal Kombat there as they find the ground, and Cleary finds his forwards again. Cusack, dummy runner on the outside. Rosum, the 15, smothered by the CBC defence. CBC down to 14 men for the next 6 or so minutes after Michael Foy's sin binning. You get the feeling they're really going to need to make that count. Lovely little pass by Cusack. Good interplay between backs and forwards for Crescent here as Lanigan Ryan gets yards. And it's his front row partner, Ronan Ryan, who goes on a rampaging run. Crescent resource to break down. Cleary again, a nice little short line there by Quinn. Crescent getting yards. They've been in this situation before, been turned over on the line just a few moments ago. They've got numbers out the back here on the left-hand side, and they've got an advantage as Fenton goes over the top of the ruck here. Hand still out by O'Connor. Crescent did have space on the left-hand side now, but it looks to have been covered by CBC as Cusack feeds out the back. A little bounce pass unintended, but Crescent are going to get their first score of the afternoon on that left-hand wing, and it's Ryan Scanlon. And Johnny Holland, it's no more than they deserve based on their play in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, I think so. They've had all the territory. I haven't looked left. Christians haven't been up here. So it's probably deserved. And unfortunately for Christians, I think, and their coaches, it'll go back to some of their own doing, isn't it? I think their DNA has gone out of them in the first half.
Absolutely. Well, you're talking about discipline, but you're also talking about, you got to keep playing. You go back even Scotland in the Six Nations against France. In a commanding position, they stop playing. You invite the opposition back into the game, and that's exactly what Christians have done. Crescent, you got to admire them. I think certainly Charlie Fenton has stood up big time in the second half. He's had a lot of big carries, and they've created that element of doubt. Now, this is probably the most difficult conversion we've seen in the day, but if he could manage to sneak this over, to be some kick, to be fair to
Cusack has been brilliant all afternoon for Crescent. The Limerick side survived many scares in the first half, come into their own in the second half. And with Michael Foy's sin bidding, they've capitalised to score their first try of the afternoon through Ryan Scanlon. Cusack, right-footed, right out on that left touchline. Strikes it well, but it's going to tail off to the left. And after 56 minutes here in Virgin Media Park, the score remains in favour of CBC, 15 points to 8, but Donal Lennon, we're back to a one-score game.
Yeah, we are, and you have to say Crescent, the momentum is with them at the moment. They have another 3.5 minutes on that sin binning. It's all about territory now for me. If they can get back into that Christians half, they certainly have them. They're running a bit scared at the moment.
It's just basic stuff, isn't it? Get into their half, win a penalty, and get Charlie O'Shea to put one on the board. And I think 3 points will make a big difference in this game.
O'Shea with a great drop off. Rock does his best to disrupt, and Bill McCarthy profits. Barrett finds tight head Cian Walsh and O'Callaghan front row along with Prenter for CBC. Very impressive this afternoon. O'Shea short little line there by the replacement, but the ball has gone to ground. Ian Morton with a good carry there, but sense a little bit of nervousness between the Christians crowd, going a little bit quiet and handling errors there as Crescent come back into this game.
Yeah, they're gone quiet, right. I was wondering where they're still there, but they're, it's just a little bit of overplaying from Christians. I think they don't need to do that when they've got a player off the pitch. They were just starting to go forward again, and I think it was an offload. Yeah, it would have been nice if it came off, but I don't think it was the time for it. We see Cian Walsh heading off here. I think he started to get a little bit tired, but he put in a serious shift, so no wonder he is. But when you go back to how Crescent got going forward, it was their two props.
Yeah.
It was Ronan Ryan, brother of Captain Connor. He got going, but so did Lanigan Ryan just before him, and that's how they got into the Christians 22. So the coach will be disappointed there. They didn't take the pace out of the game and wait for Michael Foy to come back onto the pitch.
Yeah, but you see even that carry from Morton, we've been critical of Christians in years past for playing no rugby. It was a brilliant carry, but he didn't need to try and offload it.
Quinn in the back line there has to be 7-on-7 because of Michael Foy's sin binning in the scrum as the replacement. Darragh O'Callaghan carries well. Barrett goes out towards the left hand side. Lovely little footwork there by Alex O'Connell. It's been very tidy. The CBC winger as Barrett finds the replacement, Sean MacDonald. Crescent going very hard after that breakdown. A little bit of a mess there, but referee O'Connor says the ball has become unplayable and CBC will restart again. The clock winding down on the sin bidding there, but CBC will be reasonably happy with the response since the try, Donal.
Yeah, they will, but you got to tick your hat off to Crescent. Every single breakdown, they're going at it. They're throwing bodies in there. They're not worried, but the fact that the likes of McCarthy on the wing look dangerous every time they're getting the ball. But if you cut them off at source, then they're not going to get it. And Crescent, they've gambled in terms of putting so many players into that breakdown, but more often than not, they've benefited from it.
As we said at age grade rugby, it's 7v7 in the scrum with a sin bin, so Quinn for Camp will join the back line, and Barrett just a little bounce off the shin and back into the scrum. And it's little things like that. Johnny Holland did little inconsistencies and indiscretions. We see the scrum penalties, but giving Camp that little bit of field position will leave them grow in the game.
And belief as well. Now they're starting to take on the pack a small bit. I know Christians are one short, but they're starting to take them on. And we spoke about that scoreline. All of a sudden it's coming back to them a small bit. But interestingly, Lee Nicholas played with Shannon at the beginning against us, and Shannon went after our breakdown a lot, and they definitely got a bit of reward there. We can see the same thing from Crescent going after Christian's breakdown, as we've said in the first half, and they're getting a lot of reward there too.
Indeed, the dark arts take centre stage.
Yeah, but even scrummage wise now, you see Crescent, they're going after Christians, whereas I think they were happy just to get the ball in and away for long periods of this game. They're certainly up for it. They're not throwing in the towel, and they're going to chase this game right to the end.
For those that remember, it was 12 points the difference with 6 minutes to go. Last year a certain Johnny Holland was in commentary with a Mr. Duncan Williams, who is now part of the CBC coaching staff, so stranger things have certainly happened, but for the time being it's 7 points is the difference in favour of Christians as the ball juggles in the back line for Crescent. Do well to resource the ruck as Cleary wants to use the full width of the pitch. And Crescent fighting for every yard, starting to play a little bit more, and Quinn, who's been brilliant all afternoon for the Limerick side. Cleary, right-footed, calling for his forwards to come in to stop. Been told to use it by referee O'Connor, but gets the ball high up into the air as O'Callaghan has a lot of ground to make up, and it's his own player who takes him out there, but O'Callaghan acrobatically and incredibly finds his feet again, and a wonderful offload there to the replacement Morton. Quite incredible by O'Callaghan, who drops to his knees. Let's hope he's okay on that front, but referee O'Connor says Camp have been offside at the breakdown, and you'd imagine here Johnny Holland Christians will have an opportunity to tag on 3 points.
Yeah, you have to take a punt at goal here. I know it's difficult and it's swirling, but you can't turn down an opportunity like that to go 2 scores up. Serious athleticism. I know he bounced off his own player there, Darragh O'Callaghan, but the way he rolled, tumbled and got away from that contact was class.
Well, he looked like a gymnast, didn't he? Yeah. I mean, he's been really impressive. You mentioned he played underage with Munster, is it? Yeah, I mean, you can see why. He's been fantastic since he's came on, and 'twas Morton carried on the move from there, but Christians with Foy is back on the field now, and they've actually reintroduced Galvin as well.
For Joseph Barrett, yeah.
Yeah, so...
number 23 for Crescent joins the game, Jerry Joyce. Their discipline, Johnny, by and large, has been very, very good for Crescent, but this is the first kickable opportunity they've given Christians, certainly in the second half. Yeah,
like you say, discipline, I think it has been very good. That came from go forward, so Christians have struggled to get go forward. They've gone at the break them, and all of a sudden their discipline gets better as a result. But we're looking at a scoreboard very similar to last year. We're talking about Christians playing a very different game at the moment, yet their output is the exact same, so maybe a little bit excited in attack, and there's obviously quality there, but unfortunately not putting more scores on the board at the moment.
As the sun peaks out here in Virgin Media Park, O'Shea, right-footed, kicks very, very well, straight and through is O'Shea, and the penalty brings the score to 18 points to 8 in favour of CBC, with a little over 8 minutes or so to go and a little bit of breathing space there, Donald.
Yeah, he certainly picked the right time of the day to convert his first kick. I think that the fact the conditions, the sun came out just at the right time, but he caught it absolutely on the meat. There was another 10 metres in it, but again, we've seen right throughout the game, every time Christians, or indeed Crescent, have put points on the board, the opposition have come back immediately. Christians going down the more direct route now. Johnny, you mentioned the amount of times really they were trying to run out from impossible positions and then look to kick, but I think a bit of discretion has finally taken a hold.
But even if you look at it, it's very small things. That kick-off went slightly in field, just found Charlie O'Shea, who's obviously going to kick the ball off the pitch. If that went deeper into the, between the 5 and the 15, like every other one has, Christians found themselves under a small bit more pressure, and Crescent have gotten into the game. So, small bit of an error maybe on the kick, which we don't always point out, and you don't like to get after a fella about his kick, but it just gave 10 more metres for Charlie O'Shea to get the ball off the pitch.
Indeed, as Jonathan Byrne, they've gone towards the back of the line out in the last number. But Ryan goes again. It's taken by Quinn rather. unorthodox take. And we play on here. Carried through. Replacement McGee. Cleary again. Finds Fenton. Fenton's been abrasive in contact all afternoon. Cleary to Cusack. Cusack as captain. Ryan again. Christian's going very hard at that breakdown. And it's none other than out half Charlie O'Shea getting the breakdown turnover.
I don't think I ever saw Johnny Holland going into a commanding position like that in the breakdown.
It wasn't commanding because it ended my career, but I saw Charlie O'Shea going into a few contacts early in the game and I was wondering, is he going to mix this up physically?
Look at him here, in fairness, breaks off from the tackle, gets his hand in.
And O'Shea,
he learned, Johnny.
Master of all talents, finds touch just inside the Crescent 22.
But it's a big moment in the game, isn't it? You know, after that restart, just managing to clear their lines, then from the next phase back into that Crescent 22. All they have to do is hold on to the ball now.
Foy has returned to the fray, commands the sky again. CBC go, Peel on the inside, O'Riordan on the move, but referee O'Connor says the pass was forward and Camp will have a scrum. You get the feeling, Johnny, we're into starting to roll the dice time.
Yeah, I didn't actually see. I wasn't looking at a forward pass there, but I was starting to think when they did a peel off the back, stick that ball into the maul, get your forwards moving. It's one more score, the game is killed, or it's time in the opposition 22 and time they spend defending, you know. So I'm not sure about the call to peel off the back of that maul.
Yeah, and then having made the decision, Johnny, you know, you come down to basic execution. You get into a final. You know, they're the type of things, that's the difference between winning and losing. You might just get one opportunity and, you know, I think it's been a feature of both teams, just unforced errors at key times in the games.
Quinn carries but well marshalled by the CBC defence as Camp exits through the left foot. And we'll restart with a CBC line out just inside the 10 as the changes for Camp come in. Rafa Jr. Okofor along with Nathan O'Riordan come in for the Limerick side.
Yeah, the clock is against them now, isn't it? Just under 4 minutes to go.
Game management will be critical, particularly from a CBC point of view, given what happened in last year's semi-final, which allowed Crescent to replay. Foy again calls on himself, it goes off the top. Barrett finds O'Shea to O'Riordan. He's got O'Leary with him, and it's a wonderful break there by Morton, the replacement, and Crescent go very hard in that breakdown as they have all afternoon to get change again. You get the feeling Crescent are going to need to speed this up to try and get a score to bring a grandstand finish. Cusack, right-footed, looks down the touchline, finds touch just inside the half.
I think when Christians look back at this, they'll be quite pleased that they have so much to work on because they've had all the line breaks. They've had a lot of the play. They've obviously gotten isolated because they haven't had a lot of support maybe, or they didn't win the breakdown battle, but they have a lot to work with here. They just need to, you know, tighten up on some of the basics. There was a couple of mauls went astray, maybe one or two calls, and then breakdown went against them as well, that missed opportunities.
Yeah, and you can be sure whoever, you know, whether it's Munchins or Prez on the other side of the draw, if Christians go through, Christians really have to look at how they resource the ruck, how they protect the ball carrier, and you know, because they're giving a free shot to the opposition at the moment.
Jaden Carmody has also joined the action this afternoon, and Christians read that line out, and it's a wonderful take by Skelly.
Yeah, he's in a good game.
Rock carries again. O'Shea, right-footed, has a little look up. There's space inside there. Will the bounce be kind? Just eludes the CBC winger on that side. But good knowledge and line-out reading by Skelly there, Donald, and CBC have really shown their power up front.
Yeah, they certainly have. And look, Michael Floy is an outstanding player and the focus has been on him, but Shelley next to him, I think he's worked really hard. He's carried well, competed in the line-out, and you know, he's had a fine game.
18 points to 8 here in this Pinergy Munster School Senior Cup semi-final in Virgin Media Park. Coverage brought to you by the Irish Examiner as Carmody climbs high to claim the line out. Crescent looking to gain a few yards Cusack is dropping back into the pocket here. Referee O'Connor says CBC have been illegal at the maul, changing the bind, so Crescent will have an opportunity to get some field position to launch an attack.
The officiating has been incredibly technical today, to be fair. I know these lads, they're trying to get their way up through the ranks and they're probably being told to watch this and that, but
you see that happening all the time, don't you?
Yeah.
It's happening at every mall.
Yeah.
Crescent tried to go out over the top of the line, but it's well read by O'Shea, and O'Shea is in a foot race here with his opposite number, Cusack. O'Shea goes to the outside, throws the ball back inside. But Charlie O'Shea, you get the feeling we're certainly going to be hearing this name going forward.
He's a tough bit of stuff, isn't he? He's not afraid to have a go at even the biggest of players, and he read that incredibly well. I thought he was going to have the pace to finish at one stage. Unfortunately, the support, Johnny, just too slow to get up on his shoulder.
What's incredible as well is the halfback pairing are fifth years, aren't they? So they have another crack at this. I know they'll be looking forward to what looks like a final now, but they're very young to be asserting dominance like this in the game.
Craig Hughes enters the fray for Christians, man with the ball in hand, and Foy has his pocket picked by Captain Carl Ryan of Crescent. Referee O'Connor blowing the whistle as we enter added time. Brandished another yellow card, I think, there. For Craig Hughes, a very short introduction, just on to throw into the line out, yellow card. So his race is run this afternoon. We are at the discretion of the referee in terms of added time, but the result for the time being certainly looks to be rubber stamped, and CBC will be the first team in this season's Pinergy Munster School Senior Cup final.
If I could give a bit of advice to the Munster referees fashion department, I think they could do with a pair of shorter shorts for the referees. They make them look very pedantic. They're certainly doing them no favours.
We've had it all on this afternoon stream between Johnny Holland talking about lineouts and malls and Donal Lennon's fashion advice.
Well, whatever about the malls, but I want to hear much more about Donal's fashion advice.
Yes. Crescent bring on the last of the replacements. They look to maul again. Ball is in the hands of Captain Ryan. Cleary at 9. Been really solid all day as this Crescent maul marches forward. Goes to ground, and referee O'Connor says again it's a penalty for the maul going to ground. Cleary. Christians don't look to have been 10, but Junior O'Cofer's got serious pace here on the outside as he looks to go, but Darragh O'Callaghan marks him very, very well. Samuel Jordan carries, will come back, will stop again. Referee O'Connor calling the captain.
Another card.
Now Gavin O'Riordan here. It looks like we're going to get a card.
Maybe that's why the pants has to be so big. I don't know how many cards he has in the pockets.
Gavin O'Riordan with a puff of the cheeks there. Doesn't agree with the decision, but referee O'Connor says the offside line was breached. Repeated infractions will give Cusack the chance to land Crescent into the Christians half for the first time in a while, but he hasn't found touch there. And a knock on from Bill McCarthy. Game struggling to find rhythm at the moment, but referee O'Connor says that is that this afternoon. The final score here in Virgin Media Park in this Pinergy Munster School Senior Cup semi-final. CBC 18, Crescent College Comprehensive 8. Donal Lennon, your thoughts?
Yeah, look, it was a scrappy game at times. I think, to be fair, the better side won on the day, but I think Crescent made a fight of it in the second half. Certainly their work in the breakdown will give Christians a lot of thought between now and the final. I'd love to see the teams be allowed play a little bit more. They're certainly impressed certainly by the two wingers from Christians were very good, and young O'Callaghan who come on at full back. There's a lot of quality there. But I think it'll make for an interesting final. I know Munchins and PBC, two very strong sides, but Christians, I think, they'll have to improve another bit if they want to win that Gareth Fitzgerald Cup for once again.
Johnny, Crescent in the first half rode their luck a little bit. In the second half they took some chances, but in the end CBC full value for the win.
Yeah, I think like Donald said, the better team definitely won, but I don't think they're going to be anyway happy with how emphatic that was. You know, they left a lot of opportunities there. They probably left their discipline out there in the second half as well. You know, so there'll be a lot to do in terms of video and reviewing and maybe getting better for the next time. I don't know, maybe they got a bit comfortable, maybe it got a bit too easy at times in that first half. And you're dealing with school kids here, you know, so I think the learning of it will be to do the work early, get the points on the board, maybe relax after the game and not during the game. But they've so much quality in that Christians team. I think they look comfortable for the most part. They got to within one score and all of a sudden they got a bit nervy, and yellow card for Michael Foy. But other than that, I think they look quite comfortable. As we look on here at Duncan Williams in his new post, he was obviously scouting here last year thinking he could do a job, and they've clawed 3 more points than last year, so maybe it is an improvement.
Yeah, and I think in fairness, you know, you look at Christians, I think there's more in them, Johnny, and you'd like to finish your year with your best performance of the season. If I was involved with them, that's what I'd be saying. This group, it'll be your last time together. You haven't actually hit the heights of what you're capable of. What better time to do it than in the final on Patrick's weekend?
Indeed, the full-time score here, 18 points to 8 in favour of CBC. They are the first team in this season's Pinergy Munster School Senior Cup semi-final. The second semi-final takes place tomorrow with myself, Barry Murphy and Duncan Williams on commentary. Coverage starts at 1:30 p.m. The only place to see the action live on Irish Examiner Sport. For myself, Darragh Frawley, Don Lennon and Johnny Holland, have a very good evening.
Top teams in the world come together in the Six Nations.
The energy transition is happening. Now is the time to change. Time to move from polluting to preserving, consuming to creating. Time to act on your energy. To understand it, save it, even sell it. Because today's decisions will transform tomorrow. Pinergy, powering energy transition.
To all the fans out there, we know how much you care. To everyone who believes this could be their year,
So much. And then the quality of rugby that's been played.
we're always here. Wherever your team or heroes roam, there's one place we can all call home. The Irish Examiner, where sport lives.